Hey there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittney Bundles, and today's video is going to go over 4 retightening mistakes that I made while interlocking my 2-strand twist. I have had these twists in for about, I believe, 2 months. Before I decided to do DIY Microlocs, I was considering heavily getting sister locks, or heavily considering getting sister locks. I scheduled a consultation. I got my test locks in. Some of my test locks, all of my test locks are still in. Like, here's one of them. It looks completely different than the other twists that I have. I kind of just like tuck it in. I've had my test locks in for about 3 months, I believe, and then my Microlocs in for 2 months. I did my first retightening just now. I finished a couple days ago, and I thought that it would take me 2 to 3 days to do the interlocking, but it took way longer. It was very time consuming. It took me about a week to get done, and I finished a couple days ago just because I told myself I was not going to sleep until they were completely done, which I don't recommend, because if you're getting tired, you can start making a lot more mistakes. Just like with anything, if you're tired and you're doing something that you need to focus on, you may not do it your best. So I'm going to be sharing with you all some mistakes that I made doing my first interlocking, in hopes that it helps someone out there not make the same mistake. If you are interested in following my entire journey, from me deciding to actually get locks, to me deciding what type of locks to get, to me showing you all the sister lock consultation, like kind of like a vlog, parts of that, my test locks, what they look like, washing my test locks for the first time, deciding to do 2-strand twist for my Microlocs, showing you how I decided to part my Microlocs. Just all of that information, it's in my Microlocs playlist right here on YouTube. So check that out in your spare time if you're interested. But without further ado, I'm going to ask you all to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and we'll get right into the video. So the first mistake that I made is not clipping my locks away. So when I would start interlocking a lock, and I felt like, let's say I was doing one like in the front, because it would be in the front, I would like just start interlocking without using clips to tie the other part of my hair down, because I felt like I'm looking at the lock, I can see it, I don't really want to waste time clipping the locks apart or away. I don't really want to waste time putting my hair in different ponytail sections. I just want to get my hair done. So I thought that I could just go ahead and start interlocking, which you can. I've seen other videos of people doing that. However, because it was my first time, even if it's not my, like, next time, I'm still going to be very cautious with clipping. So in the beginning, I didn't really clip as I should have. I still had some of the locks out, and what that did is it caused me to accidentally interlock some of the locks together. So I do have some locks that are interlocked, that I did not want interlocked together. They're combined, and I tried to, detangle them and separate them again, but it was just taking out too much hair, and I decided to keep some of those actually together. So I have some, primarily I would say on this side of my head, like towards the middle and like right here, that are interlocked. And if you want to see which ones those are, I'll try to find them and then do a video on that too. Also, I did count my locks before I started interlocking them. So I do have an idea of how many locks I have. However, because I interlocked some, and if you watch my last lock update, one of them actually came out. I ripped one out on accident when I was doing the interlocking. I have less than what I even counted. So I'll be doing a video on that too. So stay tuned and make sure that your post notifications are on and that you're subscribed. So clip your locks away. Even if you feel like, hey, I got this, I can make sure I'm not gonna interlock any of the locks, still clip them away, because what happens is, because the parts are so, like, everything's so close together, the parts are tiny, the locks are tiny, sometimes you can literally have your interlock needle or tool just grab one of the hairs from the other lock, and then that can bring the whole lock over, and now you have interlocked another lock into the lock that you were interlocking. And it's just so hard sometimes to get them separate. Now I did do that in the back as well, but because I started in the front, I had more experience on how to unlock them. So what I would do to separate, not unlock them, but like separate them. So I would spray water on them. I would get really close and kind of see where I, like the hole, like what hole I interlocked it through. And then I would try to pull it out of that hole. Excuse me. And that worked really well. So I was able to separate about maybe like 4 of them that I intertwined or combined in the back. But some of them I'm not able to, and it just takes so much more time. So clipping your hair away really helps. Even if you clip them away, you want to make sure that you're being cautious on how you clip them, because if you're not clipping them where in the right way, then you can still end up snagging a hair from the other lock and still combining your locks. So be very careful with how you clip and section your hair away from each other so that you don't have any issues with combining and having to separate your locks or just having to keep them combined. The second mistake that I made is pulling too hard. So like I showed in my last video, I'll try to link that down below. That video is in my Microlocs playlist too. I pulled too hard when I was trying to separate one of the locks that I accidentally combined. And pulling too hard, I didn't spray any water on my hair. I just started interlocking on dry hair. And because I pulled too hard, excuse me, that lock just popped off. It was gone. I couldn't even see where it popped off from. I'm assuming that because they were interlocked, I probably interlocked the box that it was in. And so that portion was probably just interlocked in with another lock, and then the whole twist it came off. So that was that. Some people save them to try to reattach them to wherever they came out, but I don't think, because my hair is not even necessarily locked, I don't know if it's even worth trying to reattach it or anything like that. I'll just be a lot more careful. And thank God I didn't pull out any more of my locks. So be careful not to pull too hard. Even when you are looking at separating or sectioning, still be very gentle. My third mistake is not parting or sectioning my parts. So when I started doing my interlocks, I didn't use a comb, and I still wouldn't necessarily say you have to use a comb every time you're retightening, but you do want to make sure that you are keeping your parts somewhat straight, because it's very easy to have your parts not be straight. And some people care about parts a lot, some people don't. It just depends on your preference. For me, I care about my parts, but I'm not someone where I'm like, I need a crispy grid, I'm not that kind of person. And that's one of the reasons too. Like I do want a grid. The grids are beautiful, especially the Sisterlock grids, but I didn't want the I guess responsibility of keeping a certain type of grid, and then the stress of going to different consultants, and this consultant maybe not doing the neatest work, so my grid not looking how it should look, or the integrity being messed up. I just didn't want all of that. What I would recommend doing, if you care about your parts, you don't have to be like super into like the grid or anything like that. I don't even know if people do. I don't know. I know with Sisterlocks, that's a big thing, the grid. But like with Microlocs, I think it's a little bit more, I know it's a little bit more relaxed, but it just depends on your preference. If you're someone that really doesn't care, then okay, you may not care about how the parts are sectioned, but for me, it just makes it a lot easier, because it also cuts down on the chance that you're going to combine some locks when you have everything parted and sectioned out very clearly and straight. So I would recommend parting the best you can, sectioning, making sure you have the section that you're working on out, everything else clipped away like I mentioned before, and that you're keeping your parts as neat as you can, even if you don't care about your grid or the parts or anything like that, just so that it makes it easier for you to get done. And then the fourth mistake and tip that I made a mistake of not using water in the beginning. I didn't even think of using water. But when I started using water, it really helped with sectioning the different parts of my hair. It really helped with being able to separate some of the locks. It really helped with being able to interlock a lot more seamlessly with some of my locks too. Just using a little bit of water. I would just spray it with my spray bottle and start interlocking, and it worked really, really well. So before, when I wasn't using water, I did experience, like I mentioned before, one of the locks coming off. I did find it a little bit more challenging to section and part off the hair while it was completely dry. And it was just a lot more, it was able to be manipulated, excuse me, a lot more seamlessly when I started using water. So those are some of the mistakes that I made and some of the tips that I have based on the mistakes that I made. Like I said in the beginning of the video, it took me all of about a week to finish. I think I said it. If I didn't, I'm telling you now, it took me a week to finish the Microlocs interlocking. So I missed a week of washing. Instead of washing every week, this week I washed every other week. So I went about 2 weeks before I washed my hair. I do plan on starting to interlock my hair in like 5 weeks and then giving myself probably another week to finish interlocking. I don't know if I'm committed to interlocking every 5 to 6 weeks, so I'm probably going to look into finding a consultant, but that is, or finding a loctician, but that is another task, a whole nother task, because like I've explained in some of my other videos, the area that I'm in, there's not a lot of people that I found on Google or that I've heard of word of mouth that do interlocking, that specialize in interlocking. And the people that do, they're really, really booked. And so with my Sisterlocks consultant, I would travel about 2.5, 3 hours there and back to get my consultation, to get my test locks retightened. And when I had my appointment scheduled, I was going to need to travel too, but not just travel one day. It was going to be over the course of like 3 days for them to install the Sisterlocks. And that was just a lot, you know? So that was another factoring decision that helped me decide on doing Microlocs myself versus having to constantly travel, because that started to become a whole nother expense with gas and traveling. And also it just was like very time consuming. And I wanted to do locks for the freedom. You know, I knew that locks take maintenance and that you have to work for locks for any type of hairstyle, but I didn't want to be as concerned with my hair all the time. And that's one of the reasons that I decided to get locks. So I'm like, is that going to prevent the whole purpose of why I'm getting, one of the reasons of why I'm getting locks? You know, you kind of have to make your personal decision. But with that being said, I want to find a loctician that's not constantly booked, but it's really hard to do so in this area. So if I can't, then I'm going to probably have to interlock my hair myself. And if that's the case, I don't know if I want to do that. Like my son, I palm roll his hair every like 5 to 6 weeks and clip it away, and it's really seamless. I didn't want to go for that size of lock. Like his locks are I would consider medium. And it doesn't take me too long, maybe like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at the most if I'm really taking my time. But, you know, just devoting a whole week to doing my hair, and I may get faster as time goes on too, but I don't know. I guess I'll just have to see how things go, and I'll keep you all updated, because combining my locks may be in my future if I'm deciding that I no longer want to sit there and do my hair for like a week. So that's something for me to consider. But other than that, I'm going to show you all the best that I can how my locks look. The front has been done for longer than the back. The back was the last part to get done. I don't know if you all can see that clearly. Also, my hair has started to itch a lot more since they've been interlocked, like just really itching, especially in the middle. So it's kind of hard for me to find my middle part because I really don't wear my hair down the middle. But I know it's in there somewhere. I tried to be very cautious about keeping my middle part, but that's where it's at right there. So that's that. I'm happy that I didn't interlock that part. But yeah, so I just wanted to go over some of the mistakes that I made while interlocking and some of the tips that I have from my experience. But I'm not gonna worry about it, worry about my Microlocs until like relocking or interlocking until next month, at the end of the month, right before my birthday. Because that is a huge job. My arms get tired holding up the needle, and it's a lot. I have a whole new respect for people that interlock their own hair, especially people that have way more locks than me. It is not as easy as it may look. And even if it's easy, I don't want to say it's not easy, because it's not really hard to do. Again, I don't know if I said this in this video, but I mentioned it in another one. I'm doing a 3-point rotation. I'm thinking next time will be a lot quicker because I probably won't have as much to interlock, but it definitely takes a lot of time, patience, and diligence to sit down and do your entire head. The front was a little easier, but the middle and the back, oh, it takes some arm strength. But that's pretty much it for my video. I do want to thank you all for watching. If you have any questions or any other type of videos that you'd like to see or anything that you'd like to know about my microlock journey, feel free to leave them down below. I do want to thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.